Ariel Helwani in Las Vegas for UFC 194 Fight Week alongside our old friend Chael P. Sonnen himself, who's here doing some work for ESPN. Chael, thank you for the time. How are you?
I wouldn't miss it. I'm doing great, buddy.
So, I got to admit, you see the whole dynamic. It's a big fight week here in Vegas. It's a loud, brash challenger against a long-standing Brazilian champ. It's shades of 148, right? It's shades of 117. When you watch the dynamic there, does it remind you of you and Anderson?
Yeah, it does a little bit. You know, it's a one-man show. I'm watching Connor. We're all tuning in for Connor. I went to the press conference today. It's my first press conference as part of the media. And I can tell you, man, our whole team would not have gone if it wasn't for McGregor. It's a McGregor show. It shouldn't have to be that way. It should not have to be that way. He's got a dance partner that signed a contract to do a certain job, and this is part of it. If I was to ask any question today, that would have been my question to Jose Aldo. I would have said, Jose, what are you doing here? Why did you show up today? You don't want to be here. You have nothing to say. It's a press conference. And all he wants to say is, I'm going to do my fighting on Saturday. Well, this is a press conference. We're doing something different right now. It would be like if he did that with you. And so I'm going to do my fighting on Saturday. This is press. You've got to give us something. There's something to work with. There's a reason you got up. There's a reason you drank your coffee and combed your hair and put on a nice suit. Tell us what it is.
That being said, it felt like we saw a subdued Connor out there. What did you make of what he brought to the table?
Well, I took that as, you're looking at a tired athlete. You're looking at an athlete that's been in 5 different time zones, that isn't getting the kind of rest that he wants. He's a night owl anyway. He does a lot of his training at 3 in the morning. Floyd Mayweather style, and so some of those days they add up on him. And don't forget, he's also got to make weight, and that's a big battle in itself. And so eventually, Connor's going to be a little subdued. He's going to be a little bit tired, and he's probably a little bit annoyed at how much work he's had to do. He should not have had to have done this kind of work when they have the same contract. When you guys have the same contract for the same points on the back end, you both have a job to do, and Connor's had to go out and work double duty. He should be a little annoyed.
Back to Aldo, do you feel like he has done a disservice to himself? Much like Anderson back in the day, he's one of the few Brazilian champions who never tried to speak English. And you see what it did to Lyoto. It helped him, I think. JDS as well, it helped him. Some other guys. But Aldo never kind of put himself out there. Do you think that means something to the fans? Like, they just want to hear you talk a little bit in English, connect with them. Is that just us looking into it, or is there something there?
Oh, no, that's exactly right. When you talk about martial arts, this is an art. It's a form of communication. There is no greater form of communication than speaking. That's what separates us from the animals. Quite literally, that's why humans are on the top of the food chain, because we can communicate. So, you have a guy that chooses to not communicate, and then he wants to complain about his paycheck every time he opens his mouth. I don't mean to come down on Jose Aldo. I've got him ranked as the top fighter in the world in George St. Pierre's absence and before John Jones was reinstated. I think the world of Jose Aldo. I've also met him. He couldn't have been a more pleasant guy. But there are parts of his career where I sit there, frustrated, because I want him to have a great life. I want him to have the things that he wants and support his family. And I know in his personal situation, he's being tasked with that back home. He's got a lot of people that he's helping and bringing up. And I want him to be able to do it. And when I sit there and I see these opportunities go by, it's confusing more than I just don't get it.
You said recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Connor was preparing himself for for defeat, I should say. This created a lot of stir, a lot of headlines, buzz. What did you mean by that?
So I've never seen a fight of this magnitude. This is the biggest fight in featherweight history. That's how this is being built. Now, you can close the book on that argument. They've already done a gate that supersedes featherweight history. They're going to do a pay-per-view. We can all concede to that. But I think, Ariel, this fight could go down as the biggest fight in UFC history. Now, today's press conference isn't going to help to break that record unless something happens at the weigh-in. Maybe that record doesn't get broken, but it's that big of a fight. And we'll only know come Monday morning. It's that big of a fight. I've never seen a fight of this magnitude where both guys are so sure they're going to lose. Any huge fight you have, at boxing, wrestling, MMA, any huge fight you have, both guys know they're going to win. They know they're going to win. They believe it. They absolutely believe it, and it creates something for all of us fans to sit here and debate about. You've got Jose Aldo, who clearly doesn't want to do the fight. Until I see him on the way here, you want breaking news? I'm not positive Jose Aldo is going to make weight for this fight. If he could find a way out of this fight right now, he would take it. The problem is he's here and he's healthy. His last chance to get out of this, or at least have his title on the line, or at least have the full fight, is to not make weight. So until I see him on that scale, I'm not going to buy it. Secondly, So he's clearly scared of Conor. He already pulled out of this fight once. He's pulled out of 5 fights total. Conor is now laying the groundwork for his loss. He's doing interviews talking about this is a quote, all great champions suffer defeat. Defeat is the secret ingredient to success. I can tell you plenty of fighters that never tasted defeat. Tell that to Floyd Mayweather, right? We could go through the list. You do not have to get beat to be a great champ. But he's feathering this nest. He's laying his groundwork for his fall. That's what's happening here. I understand the psychology. I had my first fight in 1997. I know what I'm looking at every time. Every time I know what I'm seeing. When a guy takes his T-shirt off, I can tell you every substance he put in his body. When a guy opens his mouth, I can tell you exactly what he's really thinking. Conor is scared he's going to lose to Jose Aldo and believes that he is. Jose Aldo is scared of Conor and believes he's going to lose. And both of these guys are preparing for that. I've just never seen anything like it. This wasn't meant to be a controversial statement. It was meant to be a fair observation, which is what it is. This wasn't meant to get under anybody's skin, but I stand by the statement. In my history of watching combat sports, I've never seen 2 guys so sure they're going to get beat.
What is it about Aldo that makes you think he doesn't want to make it to Saturday night?
Well, the fact that he's already pulled out once, that's not great news. The fact that he's not doing any media, when you're in an environment like this, the one thing that's really neat about the UFC, I'll tell you from my own perspective, I used to fight down at the dog park. I fought some really tough guys. The first amateur fight I ever had, amateur for no money at all, I rematched that gentleman in the UFC. So the point is, it was a really hard fight. It was a really hard opponent. I'm fighting him in front of my parents and his girlfriend, and nobody else is there. And we get nothing for it. So one of the reasons you want to get to the UFC is you want people watching. It's fun. It feeds your ego. There's a reason you're going out and you're working so hard and you get to show it off. When you have an athlete that does everything he can to make sure people don't tune in, you have an athlete that does everything he can to make sure people don't know when, where, how to get tickets, where the pay-per-view is, what time it starts, what channel it's on, what day the fight is. That's not a great sign. If you were going to whip my ass, you're going to want some people to watch. If you and I are going to schedule a date and sign a contract. Now, if we get in a street fight tussle right here, that's a little bit different. But if we agree to an athletic contest and a set date and set time, that's because you believe you're going to beat me and I believe I'm going to beat you. And you want your friends tuning in, I want my friends tuning in. Jose Aldo will do anything he can to make sure nobody's in front of the TV on Saturday night at 7 p.m., 10 in the Eastern, only on pay-per-view. And I've never seen anything like it. Now, Conor, on the other hand, does want people to tune in. But then he wants them to tune into his next fight when he's no longer the champion too, and he's starting to set that fight up as well. And I get it; it's not a terrible approach, but I recognize it and I know what he's doing.
Weidman Rockhold, and I'm sure you can recognize this and appreciate it. One of the very best middleweight title fights of all time. Can't wait for it. 2 guys in their prime. Rockhold is putting himself out there, right? But he's not 100% comfortable doing that, but you could tell there's a passion and heat there. What do you make of what he's been doing as of late?
Well, I love what you just said as of recent. I love that you just said this is one of the toughest fights of all time and that both of these guys are in their prime because this fight's getting overlooked. And this happens when you have a card of this magnitude. This is the way you have to do it. You can't waste media time on anything else other than this mega main event. But this is a huge fight. When you talk about Rockhold, this is absolutely the right guy for Weidman's belt. Right guy to be the number 1 contender. And there was even a debate, Ariel, and I don't know where this debate came from, whether it should be Jacare or Rockhold. Jacare's a stud. There's no question about that. However, those two met head-to-head, and Rockhold beat him, and it's as though half the people didn't know what happened, and the rest of the people were happy to forget that it happened. Well, it did happen, and Rockhold did win that fight, and Rockhold's only lost 1 fight. He got caught with a kick to Vitor that would have knocked a horse out. I don't know a man alive that could take that kick that Rockhold took. So I think you give him a little bit of a pass. You get caught with 1 shot. Most part, he's been undefeated for a number of years, the Strikeforce champion. This is the fight to happen, and it's being overlooked.
Who's your pick?
In that fight, I like Weidman in that fight, but there's a lot of ways that Weidman can lose that fight. It's really, really hard.
And who's your pick in the main event?
My boss is calling me. My pick in the main event. I've got Jose Aldo, and I don't think it's all that close.
Okay. And I believe we're 7 months away from the return. We're here in Las Vegas, so we'll probably be
For
here.
me?
Yes, you're coming back. Right?
I will only be
Break
returning to speak more with you. I'll be wearing the same suit, not a mouthpiece and shorts.
I look forward to
And
the
I hate to
return
run on
August
you,
or
but I
so.
hope you forgive me.
Thank you
I'll
so
come on
much,
the
Chael.
MMA hour.
I appreciate it. There he is, Chael Sonnen. He's doing work for ESPN. He's got his podcast, World Series of Fighting, next week. We appreciate it,
And
as
remember,
always.
Errol, you're seeing guys running my shtick, and it's like Marshall Mathers once said, they might walk like me, talk like me, dress, act, not give a damn like me, and they just might be the next best thing, but they're not quite me.